Hey, what's up YouTube? So today I'm going to go over the lightning arrow build a little bit more. And most importantly, I'm going to try to convert the build and show you the process of converting a build from like softcore to a more hardcore setting, because there are some fundamental differences between hardcore and
Judging by the
softcore
trailer, that
builds
quirk.
that I hope that everyone can figure out after watching this video, and how you can actually take a build that starts with 2.6k HP and transition it to a build that probably won't just immediately die in maps. And I'll show some mapping footage with the build at 2.6k HP just to show how it currently was. Now currently the build is level 99. I'm 10% into the level already, and it was a blast playing this build, and I was actually able to make a lot of exalts. So I bought like a bunch of sets, and now I'm back up to 83 exalts, and I bought a 5 exalt medium cluster not too long ago. And I literally started the day at 0 exalts. So overall, this build is amazing in 5 ways. I tested a little bit out. It is around like 100 or 105 to 110 million XP per hour at level 99. And I don't really think you can get that much faster. You could probably get a little better gear than I have right now, but overall, it'll probably just come down to how good your resetter is, if you have an Orbot with you, and what type of buffs you get for the Headhunter. So if your goal is to do 5 ways with the gear I have currently, you would probably reach like pretty close to as much XP as you can get per hour. I think like some people can probably squeeze out like 120 mil XP per hour and get you 4% at level 99. I think most of the runs I did today at level 99, I was around like 3.5 to 4ish, maybe not quite 4. 4% actually seems kind of hard to pull off, but I'm very satisfied with the character. Tomorrow I'll get 100, and it's kind of crazy how long. I've barely even played this character. You can see it's 2 days, 2 hours, but probably only actually played for like 16 hours or so, because I leave my game on almost all the time. So basically absolutely no time. I'm pretty sure you can get a character from 1 to 100 in like less than a day. So before, I was always like super shocked, like how do people have level up like 20, 30 characters to level 100 in one league? And yeah, if you just sell 5-way carries all day, it's actually not that surprising to get like 20, 30, or even 50 characters in the whole league to 100. You do have to play a lot, and you do run in circles a lot, but yeah, the build is a joy to play. But more importantly, in this video, I wanted to talk about 2 aspects of the build. One is how can you take this 5-way carry build to the next level with gear upgrades, and 2, how can you convert it into a mapping character so you can actually do some maps and not instantly die with 2.6k HP. And hopefully by talking about like the mapping setup, I can help people understand a little bit more about the difference between softcore and hardcore builds, and really the fundamental difference, and how it's all just about life on a tree, flasks, and having more defensive layers. So I quickly just wanted to go over my gear real fast before I talked about some potential gear upgrades you can do to make this a 5-way character a little bit stronger. So my bow, I still have a T2 flat cold bow, 2 additional arrow, cold dex, 13% attack speed, multi-mod, and pen. Now this bow overall is pretty good, but you can see that you can actually get quite a better bow. Let me show you real fast. So like again, it really illustrates like how you can actually use what's it called? How you can actually use PoE Ninja to see who has the best gear, and how you can actually compare gear. So you can sort it by a DPS, so you can pretty much know how, oh, these people will probably have better gear than me, right? Because their damage tooltip is so much higher. So you can see here, the next level up is like you have a synthesized bow with the cold damage dex. So this person is able to get double pen because one of the prefixes is a pen. So he's able to get, I think that's an unveiled pen and double arrows, T1 cold damage, attack speed, and another pen. So he has 32% pen, and then he has crafted, crit chance, and quality. Now that just pretty much blows this bow out of the water. It makes this bow look like child's play. But that bow is probably a mirrored bow. You can usually tell when an item is mirrored because it's backwards. And this is another person that has a slightly worse bow. His bow is not synthesized, but this bow is just 16% pen, 13% attack speed. So what you can see here, the difference between his bow and mine is that instead of a crafted mod, I think he has on, what does he have on? He has 8% increased damage per frenzy charge. So he got rid of the multi-mod and got that mod on there. It's not like the biggest difference, but you can see that his attack speed rolled is higher, and so is his pen roll. So his pen roll is what? His 16%. And oh, the 8% increased damage per frenzy charge is just, I don't really know what that's from, but basically he has one more mod than us because he's not using multi-mod. So for the helm, we have fractal dots, barrage fires, and additional projectile. This is probably about as good as you can get. I know some people could try to corrupt it, and one of my friends actually corrupted it to get a minus reservation cost, and that actually allows you to run an aspect, but that's pretty endgame stuff. Now, the amulet, on the other hand, I have allocates of Heart of Ice. Yesterday, when I introduced the gear, I didn't actually have an anointment on the amulet. And make sure to always anoint the amulet. Like, this amulet anointment is literally 25% cold damage, 6% pen. Now, if you wanted to get a better amulet, it is a corruption with Whispers of Doom. So, again, you have here. So, he is using Whispers of Doom. So, he's able to get additional curse. And he has a Heart of Ice. So what this allows him to do is that it allows him to use an additional curse with Assassin's Mark on another rare ring. So it turns out that this setup with a Mark of the Elder ring and then a Shaper ring, I think, on the offhand, ends up being more damage because it gets you Assassin's Mark. So because of this amulet, he's able to have 2 curses, so he's able to LE Weakness and Assassin's Mark. And overall, it's just going to be more damage than 2 tamings because the curse is absolutely huge. What this does mean is that his resists probably are not going to be capped out, I'm pretty sure. But if you're just doing 5 ways, you're going to be immediately getting like max res anyhow, so it's not a big deal. And in the end, like, damage does matter. If you ever watch me do any of the 5 ways, sometimes single target is a bit of an issue. So for the 6-link chest here, ideally you would want a +2. So this person corrupted it for +2 projectile. Again, this is probably like a 15% damage increase if you popped it. And he uses, this is the main skill, Lightning Arrow. So this helps out a lot on the damage. Now, all of these little changes seems like it's not going to be too big of a deal. But you add it up, it's going to like end up being double damage, right? Because every single little like 10% change here, 20% more damage here, it does add up sooner or later. And that's how people end up having like double or even triple the damage. So you can see here his quiver is +1 chain. This is actually what you will want. +1 chain is an insane increase, clear speed increase. But a quiver like this will run you around 80 exalts. But yeah, but it's probably worth it. I don't know exactly the rarity on +1 chain. You could actually see, let's go see +1 chain rarity. Because it's actually pretty important, because a lot of these items that you can possibly corrupt later on, these items you can corrupt later on, you can probably corrupt it yourselves for a lot cheaper, but you have to check how much the weighting is on the mod. So you can see here, additional arrows at 200 weighting out of 16,900, and so is +1 chain. So that means it's what, 1 out of, so it's 200 divided by like 16,000. So it's like 1 out of 80. So you can see it's a 0.296% chance on the vol, 1 out of, to get the +1 chain, and that is actually pretty hard to get. So, and it also needs to be eye level 80, so that's something to keep in mind if you're trying to buy quivers to corrupt it. So if something is really expensive, there's probably a good reason why. So you could also, you would never be able to replace these gloves because there's Rampage, LE Weakness. You could probably get +1 Frenzy, LE Weakness if you're super trying to go like having perfect gear. Because let's face it, like if you play this build, you play it for a couple days, you're going to have the money. And if you want to upgrade your build, you can offer like slightly better XP per hour for your people. But in the end, it probably does not really matter that much, right? So this person has move speed enchant. And then these two, what's it called? Searching Eye Jewels with multi and tri flat damage. But you can see overall that even when this person has a near unlimited budget, the gear is mostly identical, and a lot of these like conveniences, they do add up. And he probably does around, like when you import his pop, he pretty much like has like 80 like 60% more damage than I do, I think, or something like that. And that's just how it goes, right? You get 20% damage here, you get an extra curse here, another like 15-20%, another 10 or 15% from the bow, another additional chain from the quiver, some better jewels instead of me only having double attack with cold. And then he also has like level 6 gems instead of level 5. Every little bit adds up. So you can see like for any build in the game, if you optimize it fully, that's how you get like such insane damage numbers. Like when you sort like the PoE Ninja damage, it's not a surprise that someone's at 1.9 when other people are like 1 mil. It's just like every single piece of gear is optimized, right? So it gets like 10%, 20%. And that's how people get such insane numbers. It's a game of multipliers in the end. So that's just something to keep in mind. So I hope like me going over the gear overview and showing you like the differences between mine and the top end gear helps you understand how to optimize it and why like the gear upgrades still matter even if they seem like superfluous because you cleared the 5-way so fast. So I just wanted to show you real fast about all the gems I've been leveling. So today I probably did around like I think 50 sets. So you can see at 50 sets it gives you almost a level 5 awakened gem. So I leveled up a bunch of random awakened gems. Depending on your budget, you can buy these gems for like 35, 40 chaos. Some of them are a little more expensive, like Melee Fizz, which is like 3x. So each one of these gems is around like a 1 to 2x profit. So once you finish leveling it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So I can level up like 11 to 12 gems at a time. So that's like 30 exalts. So you can probably level up 2 sets of awakened gems to level 5. So that's like what, 30 exalts, like 45x to level 100 just by leveling up some awakened gems. It's a pretty nice chunk of income besides collecting the 5-way profits. But anyhow, most people know like that this build is the best for 5-ways. But I just wanted to talk quickly about what happens if you just get tired of 5-ways and you wanted to do some mapping and you wanted to take this bow guy into maps and what you can do to make it tankier. Now this part of the video will be pretty important because you wanted to play this build in maps, right? I have 2.6k HP, but in this pob that I fixed up a little bit, I have 4.4k HP, and you can look at the defenses. They're pretty respectable in terms of softcore, like 19k, 69k, 69k, 84k. So the reason why that is because of being able to take more HP nodes, right? So in the end, on the tree, you're just pretty much playing like a balancing act, like how much HP nodes you can take versus how much damage nodes you can take. And that's why hardcore builds are generally, they're just stacking HP nodes. So that means like certain skills are just always good in hardcore. Like if you have like Detonate Dead or Slams or something like that, or ED Contagion, all those skills rely on the base damage of the gems or the base damage of the war cries or the base damage of the mobs that you detonate dead with. And that allows you to spend very few points on the tree in terms of damage, so that allows you to get a lot more HP. So you can see here I pretty much hardcoreified the build a little bit. So what did I do? I took another HP node here. I went here, took this full HP node wheel here, took here, got Wind Dancer for some more HP or more effective HP. Instead of pathing out here, I took these points away and went straight through the life and pathed out. Now here, I took this full HP cluster over here, and then here I took this 6% HP node. Now, all of this HP obviously comes at a cost, but you can see the HP goes from 2.6k to 4.4k, and that's more than enough to play a large chunk of the game. And in the end, we're still a bow character. Without Fortify and some armor, you are going to get one shot while playing this build, but at least this allows you to kill bosses pretty reliably easy and not have any huge issue. So what did we sacrifice, right? We sacrificed 2 Inspire Learning so we didn't get these points. So like that's why the original build is so squishy, because no matter what you do, you can't make your build tankier if you have no points, right? And you can't make your build tankier if your build is all uniques and reliant on no HP. It just doesn't work. You have to sacrifice something. So we are able to use 1 Inspire Learning still for some map clear, because this is still trainer 1, 2, 3, 4. We dropped this because we know we only need 4 notables. And here we dropped another Inspire in the Jewel Socket because it was inefficient point-wise to get all of these points up here. So pretty much just got the HP nodes and the Frenzy charges. And we still retain most of the big damage nodes with the bow cluster here, bow cluster, LE damage pen, and some pen. And then we still have this large cluster setup with pressure points and precise commander and quick getaway. And we also ended up taking the phase acro. So that's pretty much what allows this build to be kind of tanky. And more importantly, you have to start choosing items with life on it. I still don't have Fractal Dots, so if you wanted to go tankier, you would get a Blizzard Crown with life on it, which I actually feel like is the superior option. This Quiver, you end up having life on it. Hyres is just too good of a chest to not use. and it's pretty budget, but you could even go tankier and go a chest piece of life and crit and a frenzy on hit or something for bosses. The gloves will use some life and +1 frenzy and intimidate. You could also get culling on it, but it'll be a lot harder to roll. Boots, you get life and move speed, some resist. You don't need tailwind. I just had this on this pair of boots as an example. Solstice Vigil, you kind of still use for mapping, but you could use a an amulet of more life and % dex. I just use like 2 random rings right here. These rings are obviously really good and expensive, but it's just an illustration. And then you have Headhunter, which you'll use for mapping, and then you have Flasks. You find yourself dying too much on bosses, you can also swap out a Cinder Swallow for like a Taste of Hate or a Basalt Flask. So in the end, you can see everything is about a nice balance. You have to have a nice balance between damage and life. Like the hardcore builds are no different. The hardcore players are not better than you. All they're better at is making a build that stacks life nodes. You look at any hardcore player build, in % increase from tree life is probably around 200%, right? Every single piece probably has life on it or % life on it. And then they get to 6 to 7k. And then in order to get tankier, they have Fortify. So that's just something that is kind of hard for softcore bow users to have. Only option is the weapon swap for Vigilant Strike, but that's just probably not something that people will want to do. So you pretty much just have to accept the fact that you're going to die. Another small trick is you can use Enduring Composure on a small cluster jewel to get some endurance charges. But in the end, we're still playing a softcore build, right? So it's okay to die here and there as long as you're able to complete the map. This build is still very fast in general mapping and can clear tolls and canyons and bosses really fast. And in the coming days, I'll try to provide more boss footage after I reach 100. Just to show you that Lightning Arrow is perfectly fine. I mean, in the end, the build is pretty much just a glorified like elemental hit build, except you can do 5 ways. 5 ways of elemental hit is a lot worse because mechanically Lightning Arrow just has like some scaling that makes it really insane, especially when it has multiple projectiles. But this build I'm pretty satisfied with. I hope that this setup shows you that you can make the build a lot tankier for maps. You can have like 4.5k aggro, phase aggro, and some like reliable evasion and mitigation. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed some of the mapping clips, and I'll be recording some more boss footage for the last part of this guide tomorrow.
I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Did it die, yeah. Did it die. Did it die. I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Whatever you want, I'll be whatever you want. Just tell me you love me or not, whatever it costs. I know I'm talking a lot, there's something I gotta get off. Don't wanna be this no more, I don't wanna drink no more. Always gotta do the most, thinking that I'm insecure. Really should've listened more, but I don't, of course. I'm an asshole, I'm a good guy, I'm your best friend, I'm the worst type. Tell you everything that you heard right, just so I can fuck on the first night. Feel like I'm losing hope, running from coast to coast. I don't know where to go, this all I've ever known. I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. No. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. Won't die. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? My aunt think I'm perfect, I know I'm not. My mama be worried, I told her stop. They know I did drugs and think that I'm off. Little do they know I never could stop. My manager hate when I'm pulling up late. Back on my bullshit, she think it's a phase. I got relations I gotta maintain. I'm 2 different people, my side and my main. Yeah, I'm sober, I'm an addict, I'm a lowlife, I got habits, but I refuse to be average. Really so tired of acting, don't know what I miss no more. Too bad you don't hit me more. I'm bad when I get too bored, careful what you wishing for. I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own gold digger. If I wasn't this way, I'd rather die. No. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? Wait. Did it die? I'm a stone cold killer, I'm a billionaire. I got my own
So I hope everyone enjoyed the clips, the ultimatums, and the mapping. Now for the build, it's pretty good at ultimatum with this like double, triple inspired and headhunter. You actually get a lot of rare buffs in ultimatum. So if you even get like 1 or 2 HP and ES mods, you'll be perfectly fine doing it. This HP pool is pretty low though for mapping, and I would probably want to use rare rings with HP and definitely boots with HP in order to make it feel a lot more comfortable. And I do think a Blizzard Crown is probably more damage than Fractal Dots, but it's probably going to be a lot more expensive. But overall, pretty satisfied with the build. It levels insanely fast. You can make back a lot of money from the gear if you actually sell any 5-ways. Today was pretty good. I think I did over 50 sets of 5-ways today, down to only these, and I only crashed like probably 6 or 7 times. I think the biggest trick is to tell everyone to turn off their MTX and make sure to kill the bosses in time so it doesn't flood the arena and crash it. But other than that, I think Lightning Arrow is actually a pretty good OG skill. Like, it's one of the skills that has been around, and I find myself always like coming back to it. Lightning Arrow, Tornado Shot, Spark were pretty much some of the classic skills. EK was too. But the reason why Lightning Arrow and Spark are still around is because mechanically the skill is very good, right? Lightning Arrow has this thing where it hits additional enemies near the target, and that just is insane for clear, right? Because when you shoot once, one projectile, you can hit 3 times. So it's like some shotgun effect, pretty much. And in the coming days, I'll be doing some more, start doing some gauntlet video. I was going to include in the clips maybe a little Weaver kill in the gauntlet. So for the gauntlet, they added increased AoE. And increased AoE does seem to be pretty much of a joke mod, except for some really hard bosses. But I played through like 2 acts of it, 2 to 3 acts on my slammer guy, and it is definitely a lot less deadly than having multi-proj. But anyhow, I hope everyone enjoyed the content, and you can see how you can change the Lightning Arrow guy into something of a little bit more tanky, and how you could probably apply this philosophy to making your other builds tankier. Just take more life nodes on the tree, sacrifice some damage. It's the same for Aura Stacker, right? You have to sacrifice some damage, sacrifice some Aura effect to get some percent ES and percent ES jewels. Like if you, for instance, like if you sacrifice percent ES or double multi-jewels, you can get percent ES and 1 multi-jewel. And that's an example. Just remember to balance your life and your ES and damage and life and damage pool, and you should be fine. But anyhow, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, and I hope you find more mirrors and exalts than I do.